So the first thing I do is I'm looking at the back side of my maze, and I start darkening the lines for where I'm going to have the walls of my maze. And I am leaving the lines that are dotted lines empty to where the maze where people can walk. So this is going to be the entrance of the maze. This is the exit of the maze. So you go in. You guys can do your maze however you want to do your maze. It's just a grid and making the solid lines for the walls, dotted lines for the openings, and then how you would get through the maze to the end without getting lost. So I got my grid. Now I'm ready to take this two-dimensional maze and make it into a three-dimensional maze. So let's kind of get started with showing you how to make the three-dimensional maze. So the two things I'm going to need for this project is just a ruler or something with a straight line that you can draw straight lines with if you don't have a ruler. Anything that's straight will work. And then I got a sheet of paper. And normally if we're in class we'd be using some nice drawing paper. But I'm just going to use some cheap printer paper because I'm at home. And I want to kind of use the same things that you guys would probably have at your house as well. So the first line we're going to draw is we're going to draw the horizon, and then we'll draw the vanishing points. Now this part's important. When we drew the Rambler from our last project, we had the horizon was in the middle of the page, and we had the vanishing point on the left and the right. And by having the lines in the middle of the page, we're looking at eye level, so everything was like you're looking straight at it. Well, to draw this 3D maze, we need to be looking down into the maze. Otherwise, you're just going to see some walls. You're not going to see inside the maze itself. So in order to make it bird's eye view, where you're looking down into the maze, we're going to take that horizon. Instead of having the horizon in the middle of the page, we're going to have the horizon up towards the top of the page. So I'm going to go up to the very top, maybe about a quarter of an inch to half an inch below the top. And I'm just going to draw a line straight across. And this is the horizon. This is where this is the ground. This is the sky, and you're looking down into the maze. So I got the horizon line on the very top, and then I'm going to draw a vanishing point on the left and right. So I got your vanishing point left and your vanishing point right. So it's up to you. I mean, you can draw it here, you can draw it a little bit further down, but you want to have as long as your horizon line is up at the top of the page, towards the top, and your vantage points in the left and right of the horizon line, it's going to be right on. So the first thing I'm going to do for my maze is I'm going to start out with drawing the outside wall. So what I'm going to do is towards the very bottom of the page, maybe a little just left of the center. As I'm going to draw a line right here. This will be the first line for the outside of my wall. This is going to be where the outside of the wall the maze starts. And then I'm going to match the outside of the wall, the bottom of that line, to the vanishing point on the left. And the top of that line, the vanishing point on the left. Then I'm going to do the same thing with taking the very bottom of that line and matching it to the vanishing point on the right. And the top of that line to the vanishing point on the right. The next thing is we need to figure out how big of a maze it's, and we're going to do the outside edges of the maze. So I'm going to go about right here, but you're just going to draw lines straight up and down. And it's important your ruler is straight up and down, and you're going to draw a line straight up and down for on the left, and then straight up and down on the right to however big you want your maze to be. After you get those two lines going straight up and down, you can go through and you can erase the lines going to the vanishing points because you no longer need those. the same thing on this side. Alright. So now that you've erased those lines, and I'm just going to keep going because I figure you can pause it if you need to. You're still erasing. Then you're going to go take the very top of the line on the right, and you're going to match it to the vanishing point on the left. So I got the very top of that line, and I matched it to the vanishing point on the left. And then I'll take the very top of the line on the left and match it to the vanishing point on the right. I'll draw this a little darker. So again, you got the line on the right, matches up to the vanishing point on the left, and the line on the left matches to the vanishing point on the right. And at some point, they're going to intersect, and everything on the outside of where they intersect, you can erase for lines. Okay, then this is the outside of the wall. Clean it up a little bit. Alright, so the next part is we're going to make some thickness on the outside of the wall. And to do that, we're going to take our ruler and we're going to put our ruler on the inside of the wall and match it up to the vanishing point. So this is the vanishing point on the left. And it's going to be kind of thin as it gets back and thicker as it gets closer, because things are closer or bigger the closer they are to you. And just matching the ruler up to the vanishing point. And I'll get a first line. Then I'll match it up to the vanishing point on the right. And I'll continue going all the way around. I'll do the vanishing point on the left. And then the vanishing point on the right and the inside for the very back. And you have some thickness to the walls around it. So that's the outside wall. Now the most important part now is to make a grid. And if you look at the 3D maze, or the two-dimensional maze, to make the grid, we're going to kind of like see how many like boxes are or lines are in the middle. So if you look, you don't count the outside walls. You just count how many inside walls you have. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 inside walls on one side. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the other side. So what I'm going to do, I'll just write down, there's going to be 7 inside walls of this wall and 6 along this wall. So next part is I'm just going to go take my pencil and I'm going to make 7 little dots on this line. And the dots are going to be a little bit further apart the closer they are to me, and closer together the further they are apart from me. So I'll just start right here. Kind of do a little X here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I got 7 little lines right there. Then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to match where I'm at my little dot, and I'll match it to the vanishing point on the left, and I'll draw a line using my ruler to the vanishing point on the left to the outside of the maze. Then I'll continue doing that for all 7 dots. And it's important that you keep your ruler on the vanishing point. So my ruler kind of pivots to the next dot, but it stays on the vanishing point. Now pivot to the next dot, staying on the vanishing point. Now pivot to the next dot, staying on the vanishing point. Now pivot to the next dot, staying on the vanishing point, and pivot once more to the last dot, staying on the vanishing point. So as long as it stays on the vanishing points and the lines go to vanishing points, it should be just perfect. And then I'm going to do the same thing now on this side, but instead of 7 dots, I'm going to do 6 dots. And go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a little bit more spread out, a little closer together the further they get back. And then I'll take my ruler and I'll match my ruler up to the vanishing point where I have the dot at. And then keeping my ruler on the vanishing point on the right, pivoting it to the next dot. And I'll pivot to the next dot. Pivot to the next dot. Pivot to the next dot. And pivot to the last dot. So now I have my grid. Okay, so looking at the sheet from the back of the Rubik, this little box right here is the same as this box right here. So the boxes line up with the grid. So if you look on the inside box, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that one's to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then it's going to be 7 grids the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 8 by 7. We only did 7 lines and 6 dots because we only did the inside walls. We didn't count the outside walls because they're already there. But that gives us the proper grid. So now the next part then is I'm going to go through and I'm going to erase the lines I do not need, and I'm going to keep the lines or darken them in for the lines I do need. So this will just take a little while, but I got my sheet right here, and kind of go like that so you can kind of see kind of what I'm doing. Right here, and I'm just going to work my way down. Goes over 3. Goes over 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then up 3. Then it's going to go down. up, over, round. Alright, so now I have my maze, and the lines match up with, on the two-dimensional maze, to the three-dimensional maze. So your maze may look different if you decide to kind of change it up and do a different type of maze, which you can. It's completely up to you, but however you had your lines on the two-dimensional maze, will wind up being exactly the same way that your lines will match up on the three-dimensional maze. So once you have that, the next part is we're going to add a little bit of thickness to each of the lines for the inside of the maze. So to do that, I'm going to take my ruler, and I'll match my ruler up to the vanishing point, and then all the lines that I kept I'm going to match up to the vanishing point and give them some thickness on the very top. Of each of the lines. So I'm just going to continue doing this for all my lines on the inside of the maze. And as long as you do this for all of your lines inside your maze, you should be good to go. And then we'll start on the next video. The next video is where it starts looking really cool. This is where it starts popping out. And we look more like a 3D maze. But right now, it's all about just kind of getting the lines for the thickness of lines that we kept. So as long as you do that, you should be good to go. Otherwise, you can feel free to finish watching the rest of this video with me just making my lines a little thicker. And then you have your lines for the top thickness for your maze. So I'll stop right there, and then the next video, I'll show you the next part, and that's where the maze really starts popping out.